Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
He's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella's story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Capital Hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the big show. Josh McCown here with the illustrious John Edwin. Thank you, John, for doing this with us.
Tell you what, Pat Zingarella from Invest Clearly did an amazing job. I have not seen or even heard of any type of platform that ranks, rates, has reviews of different, investment opportunities.
Yeah, that's what show is about, is investing clearly, right? So one of the big things I took away was the growing community of people that want to invest directly. And that's kind of what Invest Clearly helps people do, these kind of private deal review sites. So exciting episode. I think you'll learn a lot. By the way, we dig in on his entrepreneurial journey from being a top salesperson in a different company and then finding his way through masterminds and websites and things like Bigger Pockets to ultimately becoming a founder of his own company. So I think you'll love it on both sides of the equation there, guys.
Let's go.
Dang, we got Pat Zingarella here, John.
So excited. Pat, thank you for joining us. And can you give us a little background on who you are?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I'm excited to do this with you guys. Yeah, so my name's Pat. I'm the CEO of Invest Clearly. What Invest Clearly is we're effectively a directory and a review site for the real estate syndication space. So ultimately, it is a list of what will eventually be every GP that's ever existed, and then limited partners, investors that have provided undeniable proof that they've invested with those GPs can write reviews on them. That's the high level. Don't know how deep you want me to go, but yeah.
If you can unpack that will be.
And maybe just a little more about you, Pat. I mean, how did you get it? Like, what's the arc of Pat's life to get to Invest Clearly?
Yeah, sure. So my I guess corporate career, I was in sales. I worked at a company called Gartner, and what Gartner was, it was an IT research and advisory firm. And what we would do is we would advise like startup CEOs on their go-to-market strategy, product development, things like that. So I spent I think 5 years there, and all the while was listening to podcasts. Obviously, you start listening to Bigger Pockets, you're getting into the real estate world, and quickly realized, hey, there's a bigger world out there than what I'm living right now in my corporate job. And so that sort of unraveled the, I would say, desire for entrepreneurship and real estate investing. And as I went through there, I was actually a part of a few different masterminds, coaching programs, mentorships. And I started getting around people where I was like, okay, what these guys are making in a day is like my annual bump in a year. And so I started pursuing bigger things. And actually, you guys, my one of three paths that led me to Invest Clearly, and I know you guys are GoBundance guys, so you probably have exposure to this individual. Can't talk about it openly because there's like a massive investigation going on, but someone who kind of ran through and GoBundance, committed a lot of fraud. I was actually his first employee. And so I was working for this commercial real estate investor who was blowing up, posting multi-million-dollar commercial wholesale checks. I was kind of latched onto this guy early on in a program. And I was like, hey, teach me what you're doing. It's great. I start cold calling for the guy. He's like, hey, I'm actually looking for an employee. Why don't you come out to where I live and, you can be my first guy and I'll kind of coach you through things. I was like, okay, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I left my job where I had extreme notoriety. I was one of the top performers, did long distance with my fiance at the time. And it took about 6 weeks for me to realize how much sketchy stuff was going on, right? It was it was unbelievable. So I was like, I got to get out of here. And so on my way back, I was working with a mindset coach at the time. He was like, hey, I need somebody in sales. Do you want to do this? I had no idea what I was going to do. So I started doing consulting for him as well as working for another accredited investor lead gen company named Genrev. What they do is they essentially run digital ads for sponsors, create funnels to help them find more investors. And so as I was working with these GPs, I was like, okay, this sounds like something I kind of want to go deeper into. Maybe I want to become an LP. And so I started doing my research and I was like, okay, I would talk to 10 GPs in a week, all in the same asset class. And I had no idea how to differentiate between any of them. And I'm like, all right, let me figure this out. Let me go look for a list or a directory where I can find all of these guys listed in one place. I could really figure out difference. Couldn't find it. And I was like, all right, where are all their deals listed in one place? I'm like, I couldn't find it. And then in the world of Gartner, there were two really main software review companies. One was a subsidiary of ours where people can go and read reviews from other, chief information officers for big purchasing decisions around software. And another was G2, which did the same thing. And so I was like, okay, let me find a review site or some sort of online information. And it seemed like everything was kind of blocked behind a paywall in a community or just didn't exist in general. And so then I was like, well, let me try to find content. Like, what do I ask these guys? How do I evaluate these deals? And it seemed like everything was written by the GP. And I was like, okay, there's really not a lot of objectivity in that. And so those three things, pretty much led me to Invest Clearly.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's such a natural path there.
Yeah,
Like,
I
okay,
get
let's
it
build
because
this.
for me to understand it, it sounds like at your business Gartner, your top performer, and you had this framework of these third-party reviews that guided your question, like how do I evaluate one sponsor or one real estate deal group compared to another? So that became the framework you used. What's it been like building it? What's the traction so far for Invest Clearly?
Hey guys, it's John Vroman, founder of Front Row Dads, and you're listening to Capital Hacking, the best investment you'll make today.
Sure. I'll tell you one thing. It's we're not what I would call at escape velocity. We're like, hey, there's no denying us yet, right? Like every startup, there's the risks and potential downside, but we have solidified to a certain point that I'm like really, really excited about the future. But I will not say it didn't come without struggle, right? If you really think about what we built, it's a two-sided marketplace, right? Okay. And like nobody wants to get engaged in a marketplace until the other side is engaged in the marketplace. So it was like this chicken and the egg growth strategy. So we really had to like sell the future in like value base. And I don't even mean sell in the form of trade value for revenue, because it took us about a year to even build out the revenue generating features on the site. Like we had to sell the future value of like, hey, this is what it can do for your business. And it effectively brought in a few early adopters that really believed in what like the company can do for the industry and for themselves, like from a trust standpoint. And like from there, it was like a trickle effect, and it was the growth from there. And so now we're at a really good point where we've got some visibility. We've got really good visibility, and we're getting a lot of organic traction, which was really, really interesting, because in the past it was a lot of what I would say like generated traction, meaning a GP would reach out to their investors and collect reviews, right? That investor may then be invested with another GP, and then they would write reviews, and would have this like minor network effect. Well, now we've got enough content on there where we're showing up in other places, and people are finding us organically, writing reviews, reaching out to GPs and things like that. And so like the next stage is like pour gas on that.
It's I mean, it's so how many people are on, how many companies are reviewed on that site right now?
Yeah, good question. So how many are different reviewed? I actually don't know the answer to that. Like how many separate companies are reviews? I'll tell you kind of the numbers in every other way, but like in terms of how many people are signed up on our site, we've got about 1,000 users, or like 1,030 users on our site. But our biggest differentiator, that's only a part of the picture. Like our biggest differentiator is we are not behind a paywall, and we don't like gatekeep anything. So you don't actually need to sign into the site to use it, right? And that was one thing that we noticed was like every other place this existed was in communities. And we felt like, okay, well, if we structure this as a community, we'd be more focused on people we can sign up for the community than actually the information on the site. Like, I say that to preface like, okay, the 1,000 users is one thing, but the other side of things is we average about 5,000 to 8,000 visitors per month that actually, right? And so that's the growth there. And what's really interesting about that number is I think it came out to like this year we had 40,000 potential people at the site, but we've actually had 100,000 page views. So what's happening is like LPs are coming in for one reason, and then they're like shopping around, right? They're looking for other GPs, they're looking for other deals, so they're hitting other areas. In terms of GPs listed, we have 1,400 listed, about 140 that are really actively engaged, what we call claimed. People who come in and say, hey, this is my company, let me update some of the stuff that, maybe isn't accurate on here, that maybe out of date, Pat wasn't able to find publicly, and things like that. Long term, we plan to have every GP that's ever existed on there. It's just a matter of like how fast we can get them in. You know what I mean?
How did you find 1,400 GPs? Like you said, everything's hard to do. How did you do that?
Yeah, we started breaking down SEC filings. Like that's how this started. Every time someone filed a Form D, We would break down the Form D, figure out who the GP was, and add them to the site. After a while, our growth, I would say like our user growth kind of supported it, where now we don't do that anymore. It's just essentially like if GPs are asking to be listed, that may not be on there, or if LPs are going to review a GP that don't exist yet, they're submitting recs to have them added.
I have so many questions. So distill down, right? I'm just saying distill down. It's sort of like an Angie's List for GPs, right?
Exactly. I tell people, well, I started this by telling people it's like the Yelp for GPs. And then I had a few friends in the restaurant business that were like, don't compare yourself to Yelp. They're not the best in terms of ethics. So like I would stay away from that. But yeah, exactly.
And then so people can just jump on without logging in or whatever and write reviews on a certain type of investment, correct?
So people can jump on, not log in to read the reviews. So we have a pretty strict workflow when it comes to writing reviews. So in order to write a review, you do need to create an account. And part of our review workflow that really differentiates us from everybody else is we require verification that the investor has actually invested with the sponsor before a review can be published. Yeah. So, and that's all kind of like fluid where you go in, you choose the sponsor, you click write a review, you write your review, you upload your docs, and then it gets submitted to our verification team, which is literally me. And so like I match everything up and, just make sure it's all there,
That's awesome, Ben.
Yeah, that was my next question on how do you verify, but that's great. And then another question I have is what type of vetting process, if any, do you do with these companies, or do you just let them get on your site and then LPs rate them or whatever?
Yeah, good question. We do no vetting, and that's intentional because we want the bad ones. Now, I don't want to say bad ones, but we want the honest feedback of the experience on those operators, right? And so like we have operators there with 5-star ratings, like Accountable Equity, and then we have other operators on there that have 1-star reviews on there, and the mission is like all of that should be out there. Like for us, we stay as far from having opinion as humanly possible, right? Like this is on here, and now like you guys have experience, prove your experience, write your review. That's the framework.
Yeah, no, it's curious. It's interesting. So we've talked about the product itself and the value, and I think you've done a great job, Pat. You're great.
Thanks. Thank you.
Explaining the value. You're saying nowadays you're showing up on searches too, right? So somebody wants to invest with ABC company, they type in ABC company and you guys are showing up because of that list.
Yeah, it's wild. Like that was the most probably like I would say wild, I don't know, thing that presented itself where all of a sudden we had a sponsor who was like getting traction, and then we went for some reason on Google and searched for them, and we were like 3rd on Google.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so this is a strategy we should probably like implore a little bit further. And so what's interesting is what we found out is Google, and again, it's going to be like AI too, that the way they rank recommendations and search and things like that, user generated content is a pretty trusted, aspect of it. And so since our entire website is user generated content, we end up ranking as trusted in the eyes of Google almost as much as some sponsors' website. And the same thing, we offer a lot of like backlinking. Like you can pull the reviews from our website and host them on yours, or we have badges that you can embed onto your website. And so all of these backlinking and like people shouting us out in articles has effectively boosted us for GPs. So like the GPs out there that are really, getting reviews, we're showing up on page 1 of Google for them in ChatGPT and things like that. So that is actually our number one focus moving forward is like, let's really drive that home, but also on all other industry keywords as well,
Yeah, and go ahead. Sorry, John, you go.
No, and I'll switch right back to you. Just curious. So how does Invest Clearly make money?
Yeah, good question. Everyone's favorite question. So I'll start by telling you how we don't make money, because I think it's even more important than how we do make money. So like one of the biggest things for us in our business model is like we have to be objective. We have to be neutral. The second we lose any objectivity, we lose the trust of the LP, the whole business falls apart. And so like we don't sell LP leads, like we don't sell contact information. You can't invest on the site. We're not part of any deal. We are not registered with any regulatory agency, right? Like we stay completely out of the deal. The way we monetize it is what we call like optional profile upgrades, right? And what that is effectively like most of the profiles on Invest Clearly are raw. Some of the GPs don't know we exist. Maybe they don't like us. They don't want to get involved. They still have profiles. LPs can review them. The next tier is what is called a claimed profile. This is when the GP says, this is my company. Give me administrative access to the profile. Let me update some things. That is also free. And then the next tier is an upgraded model. Upgraded model is effectively like more things on their profile, meaning, hey, we have LPs landing on your page. What do you want them to see? Downloadable decks. They can embed their calendar. They can have video on there. They can add social media links. They give branding opportunities, all things that like represent themselves well. Because what we've seen from working at GenRev is when an LP faces friction of finding information on the company and has to go to external sources, that's where you're likely to lose them in the process. And so what we've figured out is let's bring everything all in one place, right? Let's bring everything all in one place so they don't have to go to a million sources to find information on you. And if they're interested, they'll get in your funnel faster. In addition to that, we have things on their GP profiles like recommendation algorithms, like, hey, here are other GPs based on your asset class. With the upgrades, those come away, things like that. Second thing I forgot to mention that we don't make money on is like if they're a paid customer and you go and search for them, they're not ranking over anybody else. So like the searches are based by review. You can search it by review recency or volume of reviews. And so again, that's a level of objectivity for us as well.
Hi, this is Melanie McCallan. Josh and I are just so grateful for the many investors who have already joined us at Accountable Equity. Accountable Equity is so much more than a capital group. It's really a community of accredited investors that want to learn and grow together. I just want to personally invite you, if you want to find out more about this type of investment and see if it's right for you and your family, please visit us at accountableequity.com.
Hey, it's Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. Enjoy.
Or asset class, I imagine, right? I mean, so somebody wants a certain type of asset. How does that work in your search?
Yeah, so our actual directory, you can search by, quite a few filters. Yeah,
that's
so
where you mean it'll. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just the display, like the default display is not. If you go in and you conduct a search, the first 5 people you're going to see are not paid GPs, right? It's just, hey, this is the companies with the most reviews, or this is the company with the most recent reviews. But like when you conduct searches, what's really cool that we've done for the LP is you can go in and conduct searches based on asset class. Are they raising, operating location, different filters between asset as well as operator. And then in addition to that, as an LP, when you do sign up, you can create investment preferences in your profile. And then every time a GP is launched or a new deal is launched, you get notified through, what we call as our digest. So like you're really getting access to these guys.
Wow.
Pretty awesome.
And then another question. Sorry, Josh, I know you're ready to roll. Another question as far as like advertising. Do you advertise on social media and target accredited investors?
Yeah, we've actually gotten, we don't. We haven't spent a single dollar on marketing. We just started to, I would say, like initiate our marketing strategy where we brought on a content manager to kind of like manage our blog that we just recently launched. We advertised on social media once for 2 weeks and then kind of realized our UI wasn't our website wasn't super clear why we were having them log in. So it was going from ad straight to login page because it was all about writing a review. And so we're like, all right, let's pause this until we've got sort of that workflow figured out a little bit better. But no, everything has been organic. I think the next phase of our business is like, let's get after it. And I boosted one post on LinkedIn. That was the other thing. But yeah, that's the next phase is like, we really got to get this out there.
Yeah. And I mean, in general, when you go to build a company like this, it sounds like you're building like TripAdvisor or use Angie's List or things like that. It seems like you just jumped into e-com. Now, did you say that's what you did with Gartner? Were you launching these types of businesses for other people?
No. So what's interesting is like the only thing we pulled from Gartner was number one, that a subsidiary of Gartner ran a review site. And then number two, like Gartner's business model was 100% like neutral. So like they would advise buyers of technology, they would advise sellers of technology, but that like they couldn't be like biased in their recommendations. And so like that's how we applied this business model where it was like, okay, we're not going to take a piece of the The easiest way for us to make money, we think, is if we were to sell leads and if we were to slap like an invest button on the profile. But like, we don't think that's the best way to do it long term. But no, honestly, like the whole marketplace idea just sort of came from things we heard and couldn't find. Like that we didn't have a background in this at all. We almost actually we had such a little background in this. We almost got fleeced the first launch of this by a development firm overseas because we had no idea what we were doing. So yeah, no, this was like, we jumped in and kind of went for it. Yeah.
Well, there's a couple interesting things that are going through my mind. One, you seem so passionate about it, which is awesome as a founder, and congratulations to getting your dream to a reality and starting to get traction here. It does seem like a tough road, but I'm proud of you. You know, it seems like a tough road because, like you said, you have to have both sides of the marketplace, and that takes time. So I imagine you're budgeting that in your mind, how long that takes. But you know, you made a couple really interesting journeys through your life, from being the top performer, or you're one of the top performers in that advisory service business. Really admirable. Then going into practical education. I think this is one of the best parts of your story. You jumped in, turns out wasn't the kind of sponsor you want to be a part of, but you wouldn't have known that unless you jumped in. So you jumped in and said, I'll go work for a sponsor. And that actually probably changed the trajectory of your life, because that sponsor wasn't a quality operator. And so that's why you probably wanted to create Invest Clearly, in a sense, right?
Yeah,
and
that
then
was
you
it.
did it. Yeah, you did it. And what else is going on in the world of limited partnerships that makes you feel that this is a growing opportunity? Like, what are you seeing in the world statistically about direct investing, like what you feature on Invest Clearly?
Yeah, what I think is growing, what has grown over the last few years, and I've said this on a few different podcasts, is like there's been a big shift into influencer marketing, and people are struggling to figure out what's real and what's not. You know, and I've heard that from a lot of LPs, and I think it was, you know, we came out of a I don't know, time where real estate was going up and to the right, and I think a lot of LPs, and I'm not blaming the GPs solely. A lot of LPs that I talked to jumped into this thing without education. Like, without education, they didn't know how to differentiate between who was a good operator and who was a good marketer. And I think some of those unfortunate situations are kind of coming to reality right now. And especially as people are kind of, you know, getting hurt with this floating rate debt maturity, I think that's really the thing here. And I think what's really interesting is there's a lot, because of that dynamic, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I talk to a lot of GPs and I talk to a lot of LPs, and GPs are saying it's hard to raise capital right now, and LPs feel it's hard to place capital. And what we've really learned is, like, it's not a lead volume thing on the GP side of things, where it's not like there are less people interested in investing. It's just there are less people actually investing. And so as closing capital, like new capital, gets harder, it's more of like a bottom of the funnel thing, where it's like, I still have the same amount of leads coming in, just they're taking longer to make decisions, and less people are committing than they were in the past. Therefore, my cost is much higher than it was to actually convert one investor. And the LPs, I think, have shifted more from, I'm going to underwrite this deal, to now I'm going to underwrite this deal and the sponsor, but I also have to compare all of that to what I'm hearing in the media, which I don't even know if it's true or not. And so there's like this like catastrophic narrative going out that doesn't apply to everyone. And there's like an uncertainty all around. And so what we're trying to do is, like, let's neutralize like all of that. You know what I mean? By using the actual voices of real people who have provided proof that they've worked with this individual, and kind of go from there.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you did a great job. And by the way, you have a podcast, and what is your mission on your podcast?
Yeah, our mission is education. Like, what we've done in our podcast is we alternate weeks between LPs and GPs. I was doing both for a while, and we just shifted it where my partner does the GP episodes, I do the LP episodes, but it's just like actionable insight, right? Is like, for the GPs, like, here's a platform where most of our listeners are probably LPs, because most of our users are LPs, to go out there, and then they're mostly going to cross-reference to see if you had reviews after you come on. And then for the LPs, it's like, I think connection is what people are striving for, as I hear it from a lot of people. And so I'm going to bring LPs, like, you're not alone. Like, these are people that have good experiences, bad experience, learn, take what you can, and apply it. And that's the mission on both sides.
Hey everybody, it's Robert Ellis, host of the Real Estate Guys radio program. And when you're not listening to our show, make sure you're tuned to Capital Hacking. You're going to dig it.
Awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
Josh.
No, I was going to let John. He has this great way to make sure we get you some traction, right, John?
Yeah, well, actually, I was also curious, like you said before we started the show, that you guys have bootstrapped it and you haven't looked for investors. So when are you going to start looking for investors? What does that look like? What are you looking to scale to? That's what was going through my mind.
Great idea.
Yeah, it's funny. We talk about it often. And when I say often, I mean like the founders as a whole, we will come in and we're like, we're going to raise money. And the only reason we would raise money is if we want to take what we can do in 18 months and do it in 3, right? Like that would be the goal. And then all of a sudden we'll have a big month and we're like, we could push it a little further. You know what I mean? We're in talks. What is definitive at one point ends up being not. So like, I don't even have a good answer for that. But like the growth's going really well, right? The growth is really, really going well. And the hardest thing for us when it comes to raising capital is we are very mission driven in this, and we don't want to like give up control, you know what I mean? And we like, but we want to scale this, faster than we have. And so we're employing marketing up, strategies now and things like that. So we're thinking, that's my roundabout way to say, like, I don't know, like we're thinking about it, but haven't landed.
What I'm hearing is Invest Clearly is going to be on Invest Clearly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, at some point we'll have expansion into, VC, traditional private equity, all across the board. So yeah, maybe we will. Yeah.
Well, you know what it reminds me of, Pat? A little bit like the original the original Bigger Pockets, when it was really just Josh Dorkin at the beginning writing. And I think the original business plan was membership so that you could learn, but with very low, it was meant to be generated by users. And he was super rigorous about what he believed to be his authenticity and how that all came about. And I'm getting a lot of Josh Dorkin, heart when I hear you,
Yeah,
so
that's great. He's done well. So that's awesome.
He's done well. So I could see this working out for you, staying authentic to your mission, and congratulations.
Yeah. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah.
For our listeners to follow up, ask questions, where can they find you?
Yeah, sure. So social media wise, I'm super active on LinkedIn. It's my favorite platform, but email pat@investclearly.com. The actual website is investclearly.com. Reach out for any reason, any question, any clarification. This is my life. So I'll get back to you. I promise.
That's awesome. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys.
Cheers.
Damn straight. We just got
buddy.
We got to the end of another great show. And everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.